Hello everyone, Neve here, and yeah, so this is the next installment of my spread creation videos, and so I gotta be honest, I did hardly prepared for this one at all. As you can see, I prepared a little bit just right before this video. On in the first installment, we used the spread crafters oracle to create a spread, and then we had an episode where I used the Urban Crow tarot as spread positions, and that was great, and I had fun with that. So I was kind of thinking for this one, we go an astrology route, and we kind of create a spread based on our astrological charts. So what I have right here, this is from the Star Codes Astro Oracle. It's not the only astrology deck I have. I also have this one here. This is a bag I made for it. And let me pull this one out real quick just to show. This is the Heavenly Bodies astrology deck. And I gotta say, I'm not as much of a fan of this one. Oh, sorry about my nails, by the way. I painted them the other day. I almost never paint my nails, and I just had the inclination to do it. But, you know, it's been a couple days, so now they're chipping. So I definitely need to repaint them if I want to keep them. But, yeah, I'm not really a nail person, so I hardly ever have them painted. Anyway, so I'm just not the biggest fan of this one. I'm just going to briefly talk about this deck. It is really, really pretty. I love the artwork in it. The backs are pretty plain. Yeah, I do like this one, and I guess I could try to use this one in a different way, or in the same way, because it has different keywords. So we could probably do that. Like, for example, the moon here is perception, whereas the moon here says satisfy emotional needs, nurture self and others. So this one's a bit more oracle-y, whereas this one is a bit more spread positions, which that's why I kind of like it for this reading here. Yeah, let me put this away. Also, I just really like the art on this one, the Star Codes Astro Oracle. I don't know, it feels very astrological, and it's just beautiful, vibrant artwork, and normally the softer sort of art style isn't really my jam. I like bolder colors, but I got this one because this was the first astrology deck I got, and I did like the art. It's just, I like this one more. So long story short, we're going to use this one. So obviously this would be the spread, and it's basically the first 7 positions in our charts. So the sun, moon, ascendant, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. Maybe we could actually do it like this. Maybe we can put these 3 in the center here, and then put these ones like that, so that there's the main 3 are on top. Yeah, that makes more sense. Let's do it like that. See, I told you I'm not really preparing for this. It's just I kind of turn on the camera and go for it. So so bear with me. Yeah, so, and this makes more sense. I like this more. For the tarot deck, I pulled out a deck that is pretty plain looking for the most part. And it's a deck I hardly ever use. And I say plain looking, but it's actually quite, it's a fancy deck, but, yeah, I meant plain because it's very limited colors, and that is this is the bag it came in. This is the Untamed Mystery Tarot, and I forget which colorway I had, because this was a Kickstarter, and they had a bunch of different colorways, and the one I went with had like a bunch of the teals and with like various shades of brown, and I really liked that look. So yeah, it's very, very pretty. It's not a deck I use a lot. I kind of got it just because it's really pretty, and it was one of the first Kickstarters I ever did, and I just wanted a very aesthetically pleasing deck. But it does have some depth to it. But I feel like this one might be just plain enough, as in like it's not as busy, so it doesn't clash so much with the busyness of this artwork of the star codes here, because I really wanted to make the star codes shine in this. But But if you have your own deck, and maybe it's even this one, or maybe a different astrology deck, or maybe you don't have an astrology deck at all, and you just have a tarot deck or any sort of deck, and you're pulling a card for each of these 7 positions, then yeah, use whatever deck you want, as colorful and vibrant and busy as possible. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, so I think that's what I'm going to use. I'm just going to use this one. Yeah. So before I do this, and this reading, by the way, is going to be for the collective. And I'm going to use the keywords on each of these cards as the spread position, but I'm also wanting you, the viewer, to sort of think about each of these cards and the responses in relation to your own astrological chart and how that might correlate with you. And because of that, I think, my interpretations are going to be a little more on the general side. So yeah. So one thing you could also do to make this more complicated, because this deck also has each sign, so you could put each of your signs on there. However, that you would run into the issue that I would run into, which is that I have Sun and Mercury in Libra. So yeah, and so there's only one Libra card, so you know what I mean. So if you have multiple planets in one sign, that may not work. but that's something you could do. Another astrology spread you could do is just all 12 signs, or all the houses, all 12 houses. You could do a big thing like that. Let's see. You could go even into the conjunctions and the transits and things like that. Or you could do all the planets. So all of your planets. But yeah, I wanted to keep this simple. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle this. I'm going to pause it and shuffle because I'm already like 7 minutes in. So, okay, so I've thoroughly shuffled this. Do one more little overhand shuffle here just to, all right. So, the keywords. So for Sun, we have source. So I'm thinking this is the source of whatever situation is going on here, or the source of, yeah, the source of the situation, the foundation, what things are built on here, again, this is a general reading for the collective. So put your situation, whatever the situation is, that's what's going on here. Now the moon is how we are perceiving that, how we perceive it. It's perceptions to us. And whereas the ascendant is kind of the opposite. The keyword here is entrance, but so I'm kind of thinking that because the ascendant for me, it's kind of how it's sort of the first impressions that people get of us. Our ascendant is what we first project, basically. So it's how we enter. Whereas the moon is how we're perceiving it, the ascendant is kind of how others sort of perceive us initially, or how others are reacting to us. That's how we're entering the situation. That's how I'm interpreting that. So, and then for Mercury, what sort of messages do we either need to convey or do we need to pay attention to? And then for Venus, this is the beloved. That's the key word here. So it's kind of where can we look to for support, and what's going to give us that sort of inspiration, I think, is how I'm sort of interpreting that. Then we have Mars, motion. So obviously this is the action, how we need to take action on this situation. And finally, abundance for Jupiter. I think this is how we need to go forth and move forward with this. So yeah, so that's a pretty good 7-card reading here. Source of the situation, how we're perceiving it, how we're entering the situation, or how others are perceiving us in this, how we're coming off, basically. What messages either do we need to receive or do we need to make clear? That can also be boundaries. So a message, and we can interpret that either way. how we can attain support, look for support, where we can look for support, the action we need to take, and then finally how to move forward with this. Which sounds like it could be the same as Mars, but I think it's more of a how to move forward, which is not quite the same as motion, not quite the same as action. This is the action, and this is more of this is after the action is sort of taken. That's kind of how I interpret that. So let's start off with the sun, the situation. Okay, whoops, I have these upside down. Whoops, I bumped the camera too. Sorry about that. Okay, so Page of Swords, interesting. And by the way, I don't read reversals normally, so that's why I turned that upside down. Everything in here is the same position. I just had the deck upside down, so that's why I turned it around. So the Page of Swords. So I think of the Page of Swords as this attitude of fresh thoughts and learning. It's the main card I think of when I think of a student. I think of the Page of Swords. I also think of someone who maybe is just starting to grasp what it is, their opinion on something. And let me pull up the card so we can actually look at this while I talk about it. Look at the cool foiling on it. Yeah, so, I mean, we see this bird here it's grabbed the sword, and there's a certain level of inexperience going on, but they're eager to learn. There is an eager to learn. And so on a sort of maybe shadow side of this, we can think of the idea of our opinions on something are not yet being formed, or are not yet formed. They're still sort of being formed, and a sort of maybe negative direction that this page could take is offering up that opinion or that belief without really fully understanding their position on it. So that's one way we could read that. And that could be relevant to you. It depends on what the situation is. But on a more positive side, or a positive spin of it, the Page of Swords is a bit courageous. There's an eagerness to find out more. And so this bird is grabbing that sword and going for it and learning more. And yeah, it is the card I most associate with a student. Yeah, so moon, how we're perceiving this. So remember also, if you want, you can also read into this further based on your chart. So my sun is in Libra, which is quite fitting for a swords card because that is the suit of the air, and Libras are the suit of the air. So yeah, and I am actually a student right now. I'm a student of, I've been very intensely studying and learning Japanese, so that's really where a lot of my studiousness is, and there's been a lot of speaking I've been doing in Japanese, so which communication is something I also associate with the swords suit. So yeah, that's how I might interpret that for myself, but for anyone else this could be all the other things that I said. All right, so for the moon, our perception of this, let's go with this card. And I have the Page of Pentacles, so wow, another page. Actually, I'm going to leave this up. So with our perception being another page, I think, you know, when I was saying that we could be in a position where we don't know a lot about something, but we're still forming an opinion on it or still learning about it. So there's possibly, you know, whether we go for speaking that opinion or keeping it quiet or whatever. Yeah, with the next card, our perception being another page, I think that we are aware. We are aware that we're new at this. So I don't think we're going down the route of speaking before we get our ducks in a row, because this is a card of getting our ducks in a row. This one, and even the Knight right after it, which is very slow moving. Both the Page and the Knight of Pentacles give me that a very similar feeling. The Knight is a bit more the next stage, but but the page is really being very diligent about things. It's not going headlong into something. The Page of Pentacles here is really is making sure our ducks are in a row. And and we have this horse like balancing on this coin here. And it's being very careful, looking at everything around it. Our perception is that we know we're a beginner at this. We know that we don't have all the information, so we're not acting yet on this situation. We're getting our ducks in a row, and that's a good place to be, I think. So, Ascendant, how we're presenting ourselves to others, how others are perceiving us. So let's go with this card, and I have the Two of Pentacles. Oh, wow. I would say that we're coming off as balancing this act, where I think others are aware that we are trying to figure everything out. Because this card for me is a bit more like priorities, or I have that phrase, getting our ducks in a row, stuck in my head because of this card. But and I'm kind of going off of that. And I think, but we may be coming off as doing a little too much and maybe having a little too much on our plate, and we're trying to balance everything out. And that is, and people are noticing our work on that, and they're noticing how well how we're balancing all that. So I think people are, the way we are coming off is like we are a student of this. We're still trying to figure things out. We're aware that we're figuring things out and getting our ducks in a row, and other people can see that we are being very diligent about this. We're putting thought into this, and I think that's the main thing that I was trying to get at with this. I think we're seen as very thoughtful in this situation. So finally, the next card. Just had to pause that. My kid needed help with something. All right, so Mercury, messages. Because I had sort of two interpretations of messages. It is just one word, so we can kind of read it how it makes sense. But I was thinking either the message that we need to receive, or the message we need to give out. That's kind of where I was going with that. And before I decide, I think I just want to pull a card, and then that will give me the decision there on what it is. Six of Swords. Okay. So, Six of Swords is a sort of moving on. And so I think this is a message we need to receive. So the Mercury is about it is a card of communication, and I think we need to really listen to what's going on. And we need to pay attention to that information that comes in, and basically we need to understand when to cut our losses on this, and when to say, okay, I won't express an opinion on this, or I won't go further with this. As painful as it is to leave it behind. Sorry about my dog, if you can hear her barking. So like this, the Six of Swords is definitely a card of moving on, and it's very similar to that Eight of Cups as well. A similar sort of energy where we're leaving something behind that is painful, but we need to leave it behind. Now, the Eight of Cups is more of a doing what's best sort of thing, where you're leaving a situation that did, for a time, make you happy. And you, for some reason, have to move on from that situation. It's for the greater good, essentially. But the Six of Swords is a little bit different. It's kind of a moving on for a peace of mind. Like the situation that we're leaving behind isn't exactly something that maybe made us happy. I gotta adjust the camera here. It didn't exactly make us happy, this situation. And considering what the source of the situation was, a Page of Swords, it could have been something that was very confusing, and and it's caused some frustration, and there is some writing on the wall that we need to pay attention to, and we need to know when to just move on from this. Like, we're not going to get all the information, and that's where I'm sort of getting at with this. This is something that we potentially need to move on from. So far, I just want to, like, I like, this is how I read. I do one card at a time, and then I explain each one, and then I go back and connect them all. So each time. So that's why my readings are a little bit longer. I think that's just, I guess, my style. But so we have a situation going on where we don't have all the information, but we're kind of eager to know more. Maybe it's a little bit of a gossipy thing. I don't know. But we're kind of wanting to know more, but we understand that we don't have all the information. So before we form an opinion, before we start maybe getting on our high horse or something like that, before we start really expressing that opinion or acting, before we start acting on this, we need to get our ducks in a row. We need to get more information. We need to sort of understand what's going on here. And the way we're being perceived from others is we are being seen as very fair in this situation. So those of you who are Libra ascendants, this is especially true for you. My ascendant is in Cancer. So my sun is in Libra, my moon is in Capricorn, which feels very practical for this Page of Pentacles as well. Whereas my ascendant is in Cancer. So yeah, so, but if you Libra ascendants, I think, would really find the most connection with this card. I believe, anyway. So I think we're coming off as being very fair. Like, people aren't thinking that we're being too rash about this. I think people understand that we are taking a very fair approach to this. But we have opinions. We have opinions about this situation. Yeah. And then finally, I think the message is, like, there's just going to be a point here that we can't get more information. And that's okay. We just got to move on from it. So where can we get support from this? For Venus, Ace of Cups. So the Ace of Cups for me is a card of just releasing emotions. We often have the images for the Ace of Cups often have a cup overflowing with water. And here we have all these skulls and a liquid pouring out with this fish, watery fish here, around the cup. And so it's a similar sort of feeling here. Now, because it's filled with skulls for this depiction, I feel like it's almost a sort of letting those demons out. And I think we're going to get the best support if we can just express what it is, our frustration with this. What we need, someone that we can talk to who's going to be non-judgmental and will just listen. And listen to this outpouring of emotion. Is not going to have too much judgment on our feelings on this. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. Now, the action we need to take. I think doing that is going to make us feel a lot better too, because sometimes we just need a release of emotions. And yeah, so, and my Venus is in Scorpio, so it can be quite intense. So I need to find a person who's willing to just sit there and listen to me jabber on, and be very intense about these emotions. So Mars, action. Two of Cups. Yeah, it's just finding that support system, or finding that person to really confide in. So from the beginning, there's a situation. We're learning more about it. We don't have all the information, but I get the feeling that it is something that is possibly bringing us some frustration. But we're keeping a level head about this. Both of these cards are really showing that level-headedness. we understand we don't have all the information. Before we really act on this, we want to get all our ducks in the row. We want to make sure everything makes sense, and we are being perceived as doing just that. We are being perceived as making sure everything is in order here. But we need to understand that there will be a point that we just need to move on, and how we can deal with that is finding, both of these cards are really connecting here, finding someone who can just listen to us, and listen to our frustrations, however unfounded they may be, because they're still valid feelings. So we need to have a person, we need to have some sort of outlet, and it doesn't even have to be a person, but something or someone that we trust, where we can just dump these feelings that just can't go anywhere, because we're typically with the Six of Swords, it is a person in a boat moving past something, and they're quite sad, and there's all these swords in the boat, basically indicating that they can't go back. Here we have a bird weaving through all these swords. So there's a bunch of information that we're not going to completely be able to understand, and we need to just we need to let that go. So that's that, and find a support system. And finally, once we release this feeling, once we release all this energy, how can we move on? And I have the final card, which is the Seven of Pentacles. And I think that doing this is going to be very cathartic for us. I think, and that's really true in a lot of cases. Like, no matter how emotional or non-emotional we can be as individuals, sometimes we just need that release of emotion. And yeah, so the Seven of Pentacles is a sort of pulling back. Like we've done what we needed to do, which is just release these feelings on this situation, whatever this situation is, and really reassess things. And before we can really move on, we just need to sit and look at the big picture of what we have just gone through, what we've just dealt with. We've had that cathartic release, and now this card really is a lot of weight being lifted off our shoulders. So I think that's a really good sign here. So that's the reading. Using your astrological chart as spread positions. And of course, I went very general with this because I just went Sun, Moon, Ascendant, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. But I really tapped into those keywords for each of these positions. And I think this makes a really good spread position, or a really good spread. Can't speak. Even though, my Mercury is in Libra as well. I can be quite diplomatic, but my speaking, it often gets anyway. So, and then, like I said, you can further this reading by connecting it to your sign. So let's say you are a sun in Virgo. This is the keyword digest. So maybe you've got to you really need to digest this information, and which really connects with the further cards here. So let's say your sun is in Virgo, your moon is in Aries. You want to act. This sort of your perception of there is a big desire to react to this. There really is, but you've been reined in, and I mean, I like that it's a horse here and a similar type of animal here, like something you could rein in. Your Virgo is really reining in that Aries here. So let's say your ascendant is, Capricorn. We'll go with that one. It's a card I just pulled. So, achieve. So, that's a keyword here. People are seeing you as being fair, and being measured. So that and I think you're happy about that. If you are a Capricorn ascendant, the others perceiving you as being very fair is something that would probably make you happy. Like you want to be perceived as fair, and not acting too rashly. So yeah, and I mean, you could do a similar thing for all these. So for like Venus, that the card, your Venus card is actually close to your sun. So it's either one or two signs away from it. So let's find maybe Libra. Here we go. So whoops. Sorry about that. I just pushed it to the side and knocked something over, but that's okay. So like, let's say this pretend person, they have a sun in Virgo, so they're digesting this information, and a Venus in Libra. So obviously the keyword there is balance. By the way, as a sun in Libra myself, I get so sick of balance being the keyword for Libra. But anyway, yeah, so I would say that a Venus Libra is, they need this cathartic release of emotions, but especially them being a Virgo as well, they're very measured, and a Capricorn ascendant, there's someone who's very measured about this, so they're not going to get carried away with this cathartic release. It's not going to be very intense, whereas mine, a Scorpio in Venus, would be a lot more intense. So yeah, and I'm not going to keep going, but that's another way you could further this spread. All right, so I'm going to leave it as is and pick up this mess that I just knocked all over the ground. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye.